There is a bag sitting in every farm supply store in the country that turns a lawn dark green in 5 days. The label reads 2100. It costs about $26 for 50 pounds. That single bag covers 10,000 square feet of grass, roughly twice the size of the average American lawn. Do the math. That is about $2 per 1,000 square feet. The premium bag sitting on the shelf at Home Depot, the one with the green stripe and the logo, runs $20 to $33 for 5,000 square feet. $4 to $7 per 1,000. Same nitrogen, same green, same chemical reaction in the soil. Your grass cannot read the label. It has no idea what brand fed it. It responds to one element, and that element has been sitting at the farm store this entire time. In 1856, the United States Congress passed a law allowing any American citizen to claim ownership of any island on Earth, if that island had bird droppings on it. In 1879, 3 nations went to war over the same element inside that $26 bag. 14,000 soldiers died. Bolivia lost its entire coastline. It has not had one since. That element is nitrogen. And the industry built around selling it to you would rather you never learn what the farmers already know. That is not an accident. The answer starts in 1840 on a string of barren islands off the coast of Peru. The Chincha Islands. 3 rocky outcrops covered in seabird droppings stacked over 100 feet deep. Guano. Centuries of waste from millions of birds baked dry by the desert sun into the most nitrogen-rich natural substance on Earth. European chemists tested it, and the results were immediate. Crop yields doubled. Exhausted farmland recovered in a single season. Within a decade, guano became the most valuable commodity in the Western Hemisphere. Pound for pound, more expensive than gold. The British Empire locked down exclusive trade agreements with Peru. The United States could not get access. In 1850, President Millard Fillmore stood before Congress and devoted an entire paragraph of his State of the Union address not to slavery, not to westward expansion, to bird droppings. 6 years later, Congress passed the Guano Islands Act of 1856. It authorized any American citizen to seize any unclaimed island on Earth if it contained guano. The United States claimed nearly 100 islands under that single law. It was the country's first act of overseas territorial expansion. Not for gold, not for oil, for nitrogen. Then it escalated. In 1879, Chile declared war on Peru and Bolivia. The War of the Pacific. 5 years of naval battles and trench warfare over nitrate deposits in the Atacama Desert. When the smoke cleared, Chile had annexed the entire coastline. Bolivia became landlocked. It has been landlocked ever since, a country without an ocean because of fertilizer. Here is what all of that violence was about. Nitrogen is the element that drives the green in every plant on Earth. It is the central atom in chlorophyll, the molecule that captures sunlight. Without nitrogen, a plant cannot photosynthesize, cannot grow, cannot produce the color that tells you it is alive. Of the 3 numbers printed on every fertilizer bag, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, nitrogen is the one that controls color and growth. Phosphorus builds roots, potassium handles stress. But the lush, dark green you are actually paying for when you pick up a premium bag, that is nitrogen, almost nothing else. To your eye, a pale lawn looks hungry. At the molecular level, it is starving for one atom. Feed the nitrogen, the green returns. It works the same way today that it worked on those Peruvian islands 200 years ago. The chemistry does not negotiate, and here's where it gets interesting. A 50-pound bag of ammonium sulfate at a farm and feed store runs about $26. That bag covers 10,000 square feet at the standard rate, $2.60 per 1,000. A bag of Scott's Turf Builder at Home Depot costs about $20 for 5,000 square feet. Their Green Max formula with added iron, $33 for the same coverage. Want the full Scott's 4-step annual program? $229 for a single season. Same nitrogen molecule. Same reaction in the root zone. The only real difference is a polymer coating on the granule and a marketing budget that would make a pharmaceutical company uncomfortable. That coating is called slow-release technology. It wraps the nitrogen in a shell that dissolves over 6 to 8 weeks instead of hitting all at once. That is a genuine convenience. And what you are paying for, honestly, is forgiveness. The freedom to spread it carelessly on a hot afternoon, skip the watering, and still not burn your lawn. You are paying 30 times more per application for the right to not pay attention. The American lawn care market generates over $60 billion a year. The fertilizer manufacturing industry alone, $39 billion. And the single element doing most of the visible work on every residential lawn in this country costs less than a cup of coffee when you buy it by the name the farmers use. Why does every garden center in America stock the coated bag at eye level and leave the raw chemistry at the feed store 10 miles down the road? Why does the premium label never mention ammonium sulfate by name? Why has no mainstream lawn care brand ever told you that the active ingredient in their $40 bag is available uncoated for $2? You already know the answer. Stay with me. Here is everything you need. The product is ammonium sulfate. The bag reads 2100. That means 21% nitrogen, 0 phosphorus, 0 potassium. It also carries 24% sulfur, and that sulfur is doing a second job you did not pay extra for. I will get to that. Where to buy it? Tractor Supply Company, your local feed and seed store, any farm co-op. A 50-pound bag runs $20 to $28 depending on your region. You can also find smaller bags on Amazon from brands like High Yield or Greenway Biotech, but the farm supply price per pound will always be cheaper. If there is a Tractor Supply within driving distance, that is your first stop. What you need besides the bag: a handheld broadcast spreader, the rotary kind, runs about $15 at any hardware store, and a garden hose with a standard spray nozzle. That is the entire equipment list. Step 1. Know your lawn size. Most suburban front and backyards combined run between 4 and 8,000 square feet. If you do not know yours, walk it off. One adult stride is roughly 3 feet. Pace the length, pace the width, multiply. Close enough. You do not need a survey. Step 2. Set your rate. The standard application is 5 pounds of ammonium sulfate per 1,000 square feet. That delivers 1 pound of actual nitrogen per 1,000, which is the standard university extension rate for a single feeding. If this is your first time using quick-release nitrogen, cut it in half. 2.5 pounds per 1,000. You can always come back next month and add more. You cannot take it back once it is on the ground. Step 3. Spread it dry and even. Fill the broadcast spreader and walk even rows across your lawn, slightly overlapping each pass. Here is the part that ruins most first attempts. Ammonium sulfate is quick release. Any spot that gets a heavier dose will show up as a dark green stripe against a lighter background within a week. Even distribution matters more with this product than with any coated bag. Walk at a steady pace. Do not stop and start over the same patch. Step 4. This is the one rule that separates the $2 lawn from the burned one. Water it in immediately. Ammonium sulfate has what is called a high salt index, 69 on the scale. That is high enough that dry granules sitting on grass blades in direct sunlight will pull moisture straight out of the plant tissue and leave brown burn streaks within 24 hours. That is the entire reason people fear cheap nitrogen. They spread it. They walked away. They did not water it in. So you spread it, then you soak it within the hour. A deep watering. Enough to carry every granule off the blades and down into the soil where the roots absorb it. Half an inch of irrigation is plenty. If it rained that morning and the soil is already damp, even better. The granules dissolve on contact and move straight to the root zone. Do that and there is no burn. Just green in 5 to 7 days. Skip it on a 95-degree afternoon and you will see exactly why the premium bag sells forgiveness. Now, before I give you the schedule, let me kill the myth. Because if you searched this topic before you found this video, somebody already told you the wrong answer. Epsom salt. Half the internet will tell you to dissolve Epsom salt in a sprayer and soak your lawn for a deep green. It sounds scientific. A mineral powder dissolved in water. A sprayer with a nozzle. Chemistry words on the bag. It is the most popular homemade lawn trick in existence. It does almost nothing. Epsom salt is magnesium sulfate. Magnesium is an essential nutrient. That part is true. But magnesium only greens a lawn that is actually deficient in magnesium. And almost no residential lawn is. North Dakota State University tested it. The University of Minnesota tested it. Iowa State, Washington State, Clemson, the University of Georgia. Every major extension office that has studied this has landed on the same conclusion. If your soil already has adequate magnesium, and over 70% of American soils do, adding more does nothing visible for the color. 0. It gets worse. Magnesium and calcium compete for uptake in the soil. Dump in excess magnesium and you can actually block the calcium your grass needs for healthy cell walls. You are not just wasting money. You may be making things harder for your lawn. The Epsom salt trick feels scientific because it involves a powder and a sprayer. It is feeding a deficiency your lawn almost certainly does not have. Save it for your feet after a long day in the yard. Now, the schedule. Apply once in early summer, once in late summer. 2 applications per season. That is the entire calendar. Total cost for a 5,000 square foot lawn, roughly $5 for the year. The Scott's 4-step program for the same lawn runs $229. Here's the part that surprises most people. That 24% sulfur riding along in every bag of ammonium sulfate. The number nobody reads on the label. It is doing a second job for free. Sulfur gently lowers soil pH over time. Most struggling lawns in the United States, especially in hard water regions, sit slightly too alkaline. In an alkaline soil, grass physically cannot absorb the iron that drives deep, dark color. No matter how much nitrogen you feed it, the iron is already in the ground. It is just locked up by the high pH. The sulfur in ammonium sulfate nudges that pH back toward the sweet spot, 6 to 6.5, over a season or two. That unlocks the iron your soil already had. So the cheap powder does not just match the premium bag. Over 2 or 3 seasons, it fixes a structural problem that the premium bag charges extra to address with an added iron supplement. Scott's Green Max, the one with iron, costs $33 for 5,000 square feet. The ammonium sulfate does both jobs for $2. You are getting the nitrogen and a slow soil correction in the same scoop. One more thing, because it pairs with this and it costs almost nothing. If you want to push the color even deeper, mix 1 cup of plain blackstrap molasses into the water you are soaking in. Not for the grass, for what lives under it. The sugar in molasses is pure carbon. Carbon is food for the soil bacteria that convert nitrogen into the form roots actually absorb. A well-fed microbial population cycles your nitrogen faster and holds it in the root zone instead of letting it wash past the roots in the next rain. A jug of blackstrap molasses costs $3 to $4 at any grocery store and lasts an entire season of applications. The catch is honest. This only works if the microbes are already established. In most lawns that have been around more than a couple of years, they are. The molasses does not replace the nitrogen. It makes the nitrogen you just paid $2 for go further and last longer. Now the part this channel never skips. Ammonium sulfate is not a complete fertilizer. It is 21-0-0. No phosphorus for root development. No potassium for stress tolerance or disease resistance. If your lawn genuinely needs those nutrients, ammonium sulfate will not provide them. A soil test from your county extension office runs $15 to $25. It tells you exactly what your soil has and what it is missing. If you test low in phosphorus or potassium, address those separately. Ammonium sulfate handles the nitrogen and the sulfur. It does not handle everything. Do not exceed 1 pound of actual nitrogen per 1,000 square feet in a single application. That is 5 pounds of product per 1,000. More is not better. More is burn. Do not apply in extreme heat without immediate watering. If the forecast reads 95 degrees and you cannot get a sprinkler running within the hour, wait for a cooler morning. Do not apply before a heavy rainstorm. A downpour washes soluble nitrogen straight past the root zone and into the groundwater, which wastes the product and puts nitrates where they should not be. And one more. Ammonium sulfate lowers soil pH over time. That is a benefit for most lawns. But if your soil already tests below 6, repeated applications without monitoring could push it too acidic. Get the soil test. It costs less than 1 bag of the premium stuff, and it tells you exactly where you stand, because this channel always gives you the full picture. In 1856, the United States government decided that nitrogen was important enough to claim foreign territory. In 1879, 3 nations decided it was important enough to send 14,000 soldiers to die. Bolivia lost its coastline. It has never gotten it back. The element those armies fought and bled for is sitting in a $26 bag at your nearest farm supply store. The same nitrogen, the same chemistry, the same reaction in the soil. Nothing has changed except who profits from it. Somewhere between the 19th century and now, an industry figured out that if you coat that nitrogen in a polymer shell, package it in a smaller bag, print a green stripe on it, and stock it at the garden center instead of the feed store, you could charge 30 times more for the same atom. That was not a failure of chemistry. It was a triumph of marketing. Here is the part that stays with me. The farmer who plants 1,000 acres of corn has never once bought a bag with a green stripe on it. He buys ammonium sulfate or urea by the ton at the farm co-op, applies it at the published university extension rate, and waters it in. That is the entire method. It has not changed in 60 years. The nitrogen molecule does not know whether it landed on a cornfield or a front yard. It does the same thing either way. You now know what a $60 billion lawn care industry depends on you not knowing. If this changed how you think about the bag on the shelf, share it with the one neighbor who still hauls home the heavy bag every spring. Not the whole internet, just the one person spending $200 a year on a polymer coating they do not need. If you want more systems like this, the kind that used to be common knowledge before somebody figured out how to charge a subscription for them, subscribe. Knowledge like this does not disappear on its own. It gets buried. This channel digs it back up. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.